Good morning. So today we're going to talk about the resurrection, and you're going to find out that you have a lot more control over your own resurrection than you might think. First, in order to know that you are sitting here waiting for your resurrection, or some Christians are waiting for the rapture, or you're waiting for the return of Christ, you're waiting for the sky to depart as a scroll, and you're waiting for your transformation. Well, first you have to know what's put you in death. First you have to recognize that you are in death. Okay, this is why you sit and wait for your resurrection. It's because you're in death. So there are a couple of things that cause death, and we're going to talk about that. So of course, this is a parable, but it's so very important and nobody understands what's going on here. The first thing that puts you in death is that the Bible tells you that all men have followed Adam and Eve in the transgression. So all men have taken of the fruit of knowledge from the tree in the garden, and they have fallen to earth. Okay, so God said, if you can look behind me, God said, of every tree of the garden you may eat freely, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in that day thou eatest thereof, you shall surely die. Now hold on a minute. Adam and Eve eat of the tree? They get kicked out of the garden, but they don't die. They go on to have children, Cain and Abel and all the others, and they go on living for 900-something years. Did God lie? No. The Bible tells you what happened to Adam and Eve, and this has also happened to you. You have eaten of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and you have died a spiritual death. This is because you have fallen out of the garden. You have been separated from God. God is still back in the garden. You have been separated from God. And then you become cursed. It's a curse. So you don't actually die like God says here, do you? Adam and Eve did not die. It is a spiritual disconnect. This is what happens to you. And it's a curse to have this disconnect. So Adam and Eve were actually cursed when they ate of the fruit of the tree. God said, you shall surely die. And God said, I'm going to curse you now. Okay? So let's look at that, what happens to Adam when he is cursed. So here we go. Adam, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and you have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it, or you shall surely die, right? Cursed is the ground for your sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. Okay, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread. Okay, what God is talking about here is if you look out in the world, you yourself, you have been toiling and laboring and struggling and working and toiling all the years of your life. But when you look around, you still see that it's kind of fruitless. You are still waiting for your rest. You are still waiting to relax from your labors. You are still waiting for the evil to go away. You are still waiting for the peaceful, harmonious society. You are still waiting for the promised land. You are still waiting for your reward. Okay, so this is the curse of Adam. Though you toil and you struggle, you are still in sorrow. And this isn't every day, but it's a lot of days or some days, and you see a lot of evil in the world. It is definitely not a garden. It is corrupt. It is evil. Darkness is encroaching, and we are awaiting the return of the Messiah to save us from this hellish world that we live in. This is Adam's curse. You experience it too. Okay? You see the evil, you see the pain, you see the horror in the world, and that is what it means to produce thorns. The world is producing thorns. It is a spiritual disconnect from the garden and from God, and so you are waiting for your return to God. You're waiting to get back into the garden. You're waiting to get that promised land in eternity, okay? This is your spiritual death. You find joy, but not constant and continuous. There's always upheaval. There's always ups and downs in the road. Okay? That is the curse of Adam. And every man has followed Adam in taking of the fruit. And that is found in the New Testament. Okay? Okay, so now let's take a look at this world. And let's see why we are in death and why there is no peace and harmony, and what is the beast that is now ruling over us. Well, now, since we've eaten of the serpent's fruit, the serpent roams about. The serpent is down here. The devil is down here, roaming about. You put on your armor to fight the wiles of the devil. And the prince of this world rules this world. And we all know that that's the beast. Okay, so this world isn't run by the same principles as God would run this world. That's why there's evil and there's corruption and there's decay and there's sickness and illness and lying and cheating and stealing and all kinds of things. Okay? Because God isn't here. It's because the serpent is roaming about. Right? You eat of his fruit, you are what you eat. And all men have done that. All women, all genders have done that. Okay? And we fight. We fight that instinct in us. But because we've eaten his fruit, you are what you eat. And so you have a little bit of that in you. And this is what the Bible's all about. It's about the struggle of the flesh. When you were in the garden, you were a beautiful angel before you came here, okay? And then you put on these clothes, right? God clothed them with skin, is what the Bible says. Yeah, this skin, not a cougar skin, not a leopard skin. It's this skin when you get kicked out of the garden, okay? Okay, so we have a ruler ruling over us in this land, and you have to understand that it's not the people that rule over us that are evil. You have to understand that if you want to believe Jesus, because this is going to help you to resurrect. You are in spiritual death right now. You are in sorrow, and the world is fruitless for the most part for you, okay? So Jesus says we do not fight against flesh and blood. This is nobody's fault. Everybody's deceived by the serpent. Everybody. And this is the same story that's told in Revelation 13. This is the mark of the beast. Everybody gets it. Rich, poor, tall, small. Everybody gets it. So we have to figure out what that is. What is the one thing that all humanity has in common? There's one thing that we all have in common. Okay, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. You guys, there's something wrong with our principles that we stand on in this world, not the people. What is the one thing that all people believe in, agree to, and consent to in this world? It's to be ruled by other people. It's to be ruled by a system of government. There's not one person on planet Earth that escapes the rule of the government. And who has taken over rulership? The prince of this world, he's called in the Bible. And we all know that that's the devil, Satan. There's something wrong with the structure of government in this world. Okay? It's the principle that we believe in. And what government tells us on a massive scale is that you must behave this way. And if you don't, we're going to kick you out of our borders. You will be exiled. We don't want you here. You can't be part of the group. But it's so much more than that, because we live with the belief that government will protect us, right? Well, who's your enemy? What is government protecting you from? Your neighbor is your enemy. And this is the exact reason why we allow government to rule. It's to protect you, as if the world is evil. As if the foundation of the world then is that your neighbor's a little bit evil, a little bit twisted, and he could hurt you, and we better put government in place so that you can be protected from it. Other countries are evil. They might come and try to steal your territory, and so we better put government, law enforcement into place so that you can be safe. It is law, government is predicated on the principle that men are evil, you need protection. Period. Okay, that's a faulty concept. That's where the twisting comes in. Men are not evil. And we're going to talk about that, okay? There's another thing that happens when you're under law. You are under you have to meet a certain condition, a certain standard. You have to follow the rules. You have to appear. You have to conform. You have to behave in a certain way in order to be a productive member of the society, an accepted member of the society. And these rules apply to every single group you belong to, whether it's your country or your local municipality or your church. You must follow the rules of God to fit into church. Your school. You must follow the rules of your school if you want to go to school. Your yoga group. You must be this flexible and wear your hair in this way and wear the newest fashionable yoga pants in order to feel accepted in that group. There are rules, standards, and conditions placed upon you from every group around you. Every single thing in your workplace. You have to kind of adapt. You have to shift your behavior to fit into the culture of the groups that you want to be part of. Okay, this is also wrong. This also twists the mind. So 1, your neighbor is not evil. And 2, you are good enough even if you don't meet one single standard imposed upon you by other people. Okay? But you don't believe that. It is inherent, deep-seated within you that, oh, if I don't go to college, I'm going to be a loser. My parents are not going to accept me. My family's going to think I'm a failure. And on and on and on and on the list goes. So what happens when you start to believe I'm not good enough unless I do this, unless I behave in this way, unless I conform, unless I change my whole person, my whole character, I'm willing to change to fit into the world. Okay, that causes psychosis. And it is only a mind that is not thinking clearly, that is not authentic, that can commit a crime. If a person is thinking clearly, I know who I am, I know what I want, I know myself, you will not misbehave. Okay, this is the whole lesson of the Bible. Not only that, you don't need to walk in fear, because if your neighbor weren't under the same standards and conditions, he wouldn't be a criminal either. If he were completely at peace with himself, completely at peace with the world he lives in, did not care about the standards and conditions, and lived for himself authentically, he would be at peace too. Now, if I'm at peace and my neighbor's at peace, what do we have in the world? We have peace. We have no more fear. And perfect love will cast out fear. Okay, loving yourself perfectly and loving your neighbor perfectly. But then you cannot judge them for any reason. I don't care if people are committing adultery, stealing, wearing the wrong outfit. It doesn't matter. But the government system itself, not the people, the system of standards, the framework you must conform, is what makes the world appear evil. If everybody were allowed to express their authenticity, what would they express? God. You are made in the breath of God, knit together in the womb by God, innocent coming out of the womb, and every man who comes into this world, every single man who is born, was made with the light of Christ. All things were made by him, and without him not anything was made that was made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. Are you alive? That was the true light, the word Jesus we're talking about, obviously, which lights every man that comes into the world. We all have life. We were all made by Christ. Therefore, we all have his light. It's somewhere in there deeply buried. But government, rules, standards, your conditions upon other people make you think that other people are evil and wicked and there is no light in them. You fear them. You see them committing a crime and you don't understand that they're just twisted by the framework of their society, by the rules and standards placed upon them. And if they would only listen to themselves, to the light within them, they would express that beautiful light. Because that's what we're made of. Okay, so the thought that that's not true is what kills you. It's your spiritual disconnect. You have the light of Christ in you if you were born into this world with life. But you don't know that. You think Jesus is out there somewhere with God up in the garden. No, every single human being reflects the light of Christ walking around on planet Earth. When you start to understand that, completely contrary to the thorns and thistles that you believe are out there, you start to see light everywhere. And then you start to walk in heaven. You're back in the garden. Okay, but now you're dead. And so when you look out into the world, that's not your reality at all. Okay, but what has twisted your mind is the serpent's fruit. Now, the serpent's fruit defines what is good and what is evil. What defines for you what is good and evil? Your government. The rules, the standards, the conditions. If you behave this way, you're good. But if you look this way, we don't want you. You're not good enough. Not good enough means evil, bad. The serpent's fruit, the knowledge of good and evil, comes by laws, rules, standards, conditions, ordinances, and statutes. If you behave this way, good. But if you speed, naughty, bad, evil. Okay, that's the serpent's fruit, and it twists you. That's the prince of this world and his principalities. The structure, the concepts that men believe in. We need a government to keep us safe because my neighbor's evil. Wrong. We need a government to tell me how to behave because I don't know how to do it myself. I don't know how to listen to my own heart. And so they're going to tell me how I should act, what box I should fit into. Wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. All of it wrong. Both of those things happen because of law, government, standards, statutes. Both of those things. They're founded on false foundations. And when you live in a world that's founded on lies, men are evil and you're not good enough if you don't behave how I want you to behave. Okay? Lie. Lie, lie. And our society is built on it. That's your death. You are believing in these concepts. You're believing in lies. Death. That's complete and utter death. Okay, so how do we resurrect from this? Well, luckily, when you enter religion, you get to see this on a microcosm level. Your religion is going to become your ruler. Laws, commandments, statutes. Behave this way, good, get into heaven. Peaceful, you can be left alone. Behave this way, nope, jail, exile, hellfire. Law is the knowledge of good and evil. So God gave us rules, just like the prince of this world gives us rules. So I want you to take a look at Moses, who was the bringer of the law that came from Jehovah, Yahweh. And when he came down from Mount Sinai with the 2 tables of testimony in his hand, his face shone. He's coming down from the high mountaintop with all the rules, all the standards and all the commandments, conditions for the society of the Hebrew Israelites here, okay? His face shone. You can say his face shined. It's the exact same thing, though, to grow horns. Moses grew horns. Primitive root, to push or gore, to shoot out horns. To push with the horn. Horns. Moses grew horns. And so, what? Who was giving the law, the knowledge of what is good and holy and legal, and the knowledge of what is unclean, unholy, and criminal? Who's giving the law? The knowledge of good and evil? And if that's not enough to have you questioning Moses, you can look again right here. So Moses answered God and said, "But behold, they will not believe me or hearken unto my voice, for they will say, the Lord hasn't appeared to you." And the Lord said unto him, "What's in your hand, Moses?" And Moses said, a staff, his infamous staff that brought all the plagues on Egypt, right? And God said, the Lord said, "Cast it on the ground." And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent. And Moses fled from before it. Can you imagine? Your walking stick becomes a serpent. And the Lord said unto Moses, "Put forth your hand and take that serpent by the tail." And Moses put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. The same rod that you always see, the staff, that you always see Moses carrying. Serpent staff growing horns. Law of what is good and law of what is evil. And then, of course, the Bible also tells you that the law, the Bible, the book of the law, all the scrolls, every single ordinance and statute and commandment and verse, which the Bible, we believe, is all written in stone. It all must be truth. So they're talking about the book of the law here, Deuteronomy 30, right? The giving of the commandments. It's the book of Deuteronomy here. "If you shall hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and statutes, which are written in this book of the law." Now, what's the law? The Bible. You believe every verse as absolute God's word truth, written in stone. must be true, must come to pass, must have been absolute historical fact, written in stone. This is the book of the law. And then God, the Lord, says, see, I have set before you this day life and good and death and evil in this book of the law. And if you can't see that in the Bible, you're completely blind, because Jehovah Yahweh does horrendous things. Horrendous things. Dash the infants against the stone. Kill everybody. Kill all your neighbors, but keep the young girls for yourself, says Jehovah. Okay, if that ain't evil, you're not thinking clearly, right? Oh, but God's ways are higher than ours. Really? How is that higher than your ways? Would you ever do that? Would you ever dash an infant against the stone? Would you ever take a little girl? Don't be disgusting. You would never. But God's ways are higher than ours? Okay, if you can do better than God, then Jehovah God is not God. Jehovah God is the God of good and evil, the prince of this world. Sorry. This is why we needed Jesus. So have hope. Have hope. So you are dead. The knowledge of some of it is good, merciful, beautiful, right? And some of it is so wicked, it turns your stomach. It's the knowledge of good and evil in this book, in the law, in the government systems today. This is your death. The world looks horribly confusing. In fact, it's the land of Babylon. Babylon means confusion. Okay? It's the land of Babylon all around us. What we need is a Savior. So, he's going to bring us up out of death by bringing us out of law. Yes, Jesus was an anarchist. For Christ is the end of the law. Ended it. Now, is there still government here today? Of course, but it's only because you consent. Now that you know that Jesus was totally against the system, obviously he died at the hands of the system. He was totally against the system. Okay? Now that you know, maybe you can start ignoring those things. Start ignoring the rules, the standards, and the conditions. You can do that. And I'm going to show you why in just a minute. Okay, what else did Jesus do? Here we are talking about the cross. Jesus deleted, you guys, blotted out the handwritten ordinances. Which ones? Every single jot and tittle was fulfilled by Jesus. He says every jot and every tittle. All of it. Done. Erase the scrolls. All of them. The whole Bible was written on volumes of scrolls, Old and New Testament. Erase the handwritten ordinances because they were against us and contrary to us. He took it out of the way and nailed it to his cross. He crucified the law, the book, the Bible. He spoiled the principalities, the ideas that the book stands on, government law, rules. If you conform, I will allow you into the promised land. No, if you conform, you become crazy. If you listen to your heart and not the standards of the authority outside of you, don't listen to them at all. If you can listen to your heart and your conscience, you will be completely and perfectly at peace. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfectly sane. And a person who's thinking clearly never commits a crime. A person who loves themselves completely and loves their neighbors like God because they see the light of Christ in everyone will never, ever, ever harm anybody. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. if you truly love everybody without judgment, without seeing sin covering everybody's behavior, if you recognize, no, there's a perfect light within them and they're all beautiful, made by God, then you will not commit a crime. This is how you're healed. You will never commit a crime against somebody. But if you're forced into a box that says don't, the perfect example of this is don't, right? There's a law in there somewhere that says homosexuality is an abomination. Well, what if that is your inclination? And what if you are hurting nobody and you and your partner are perfectly at peace and happy with each other? But your society makes it so that you fear. You fear castigation. You fear unacceptance. And that is what causes you to sneak around and eventually, possibly, to do other bad things. You can't express who you are truly, and so you hide. And because you believe you're not good, your behavior starts to reflect your belief about yourself. I'm not good enough. Why do I feel this way? What is wrong with me? Twisting of the mind, and then you can behave criminally against other people. Because you're always seeking for that peace, and you're going about it in the wrong way. A perfect example of that is Hitler. He wanted utopia with the Aryan race. Everybody wants utopia. Everybody wants the promised land. Everybody wants heaven on earth. Everybody wants to see the kingdom. Some people have a very twisted way of going about it. They try to affect the outside. They try to change everything outside of themselves. No, you simply have to change your heart. And then, what does Jesus say? The kingdom comes within. In order to resurrect, you have to get rid of the rules and standards. You have to understand that is the poison. When God placed a forbidden fruit in front of Adam, he couldn't resist. And that is what law is. Don't do this. Really? That's a beautiful apple. I think I want to try it. It's the forbidden fruit. Law. Law says, don't you go have that beautiful shiny thing. Right? Don't covet that beautiful shiny thing. Wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. If you do it out of pureness, integrity, authenticity, there's nothing wrong with that. It keeps you in line, aligned with purity and truth and light. So in order to resurrect, you have to listen, get rid of the rules, like Jesus ended the law. This is how you're not guilty. Nobody can judge you now. This is how the world is made innocent. Okay? To come up out of your grave, you have to come up out of your religion and then come out of the world's standards. Just listen to your heart and conscience. This is where the truth is found. So it's in Romans 2. Pure heart and a good conscience. Okay? But let's go to Romans 2 because that's where it tells you, don't listen. No. Let's first go here. See, the letter of the law kills you. Not of the letter. Okay? So we have been made ministers, if you would believe it, but you don't, of the New Testament. Not of the letter. For the letter killeth, the law. The letter of the law kills you. Government law in today's world, biblical law in the religious world. It kills you. You want to resurrect? Get rid of it. Jesus Christ is the end of the law. You want to resurrect? Come out of your grave. Get rid of your religion. Get rid of believing like the government today has you serving like a slave to it. Right? It's inherent in the system. It's not the people. It's the system that's cracked, faulty. Serve, slave, sacrifice. Give up your time to toil in the field and get pennies back. That's slaving. That's service, which was one of the main commandments of God. Serve me in your church. Be a faithful servant. No, Jesus already fulfilled that. He was the perfect one. You can't do it better than Jesus. No more service. No more slaving. No more sacrifice. No more labor. No more obedience. No more obedience to the law. Because if you listen to your heart, you will never commit a crime. It's completely 1,000% unnecessary to have government law. Again, because if you listen to your heart and conscience, Romans 2, you will never commit a crime. Why? Because you are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Christ, ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. There's a different God out there that's Jesus' Father. It's not Jehovah, Yahweh, Moses, and all of their principles, their structures, their concepts, their ideas. They were wrong. If they were right, Jesus didn't need to come to show the truth, the way, the life. That's why Jesus was the life, because the old covenant government system of judgment and persecution and standards and conformity was death. This is Adam's curse, eating the fruit in the garden. Knowledge of good, knowledge of evil contained in the law. Not in tables of stone, but in the fleshy tables of the heart. So what did the true God write in every human being? First of all, light, life. Light and life. The Word made flesh. John 1. Okay? Second of all, love. I love you. You can love me. We are perfectly made in the image of God with the breath of life. He wrote, love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. He did not write, keep holy the Sabbath day. What the hell does that have to do with anything? He did not write, don't covet your neighbor's shiny red car. No. Instead, if you like that, strive for it. Go out and work for it with integrity and authenticity. What the heck is wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so this is how you resurrect. God Almighty, the true God, not the God of the Bible, the true God wrote in your heart goodness, light, and love. In your conscience, goodness, light, and love. Accept yourself, accept your neighbors, and the world will find peace. The kingdom is within you. So, no more thorns and thistles. If you start to realize, oh, every man is only twisted because of the principles that this world is founded on, which are fake. We believe in lies, and so we behave criminally. We're twisted by the serpent's fruit, poisoned by the apple. The law, what is good, legal, holy, and what is evil, illegal, criminal, unclean. Poison. It's poison. It's absolute poison to the mind. And that's why there's evil in the world. But you now can resurrect. You have just had a revelation. This is your apocalypse. Okay? Jesus' truth is starting to resonate in you. The end of the law. A new covenant where there is no law. Fulfilling every jot and every tittle of the book so you can get rid of it. Listening to your heart and conscience. Romans 2. Only Only. Never, ever judging by law. Oh, he's not good enough because he stole. She's not good enough because she committed adultery. You're not good enough because you're sinning all the time against the truth of the light in every human being. Everybody's beautiful, despite their carnal behavior. They're only misbehaving, acting criminal, because they've been twisted by society's rules and standards. Therefore, thou art inexcusable, O man, whosoever thou art that judge. Do you understand what? He's saying that men that judge are inexcusable, but God can judge? How? Men can't, but God can. No, God can't because Jesus ended the law. For wherein thou judgest another, you condemn yourself. Heck yes, you do. It's poison to you too, to judge somebody. Can you imagine a world where truly, everybody, you loved everybody as much as you love your child? Truly, you don't judge anybody. You accept them no matter what. It's a beautiful burden off your shoulders. The yoke has been broken. It's a beautiful thing to not have to judge anymore. For you, judge that judges does the same thing. Of course you do. Don't be a hypocrite. This is what Jesus always said. You judge them, but you do the same thing. Equal. You're breaking some kind of rule. Somebody's standard, somebody's condition. Okay. But we are sure that the judgment of God is according to the truth against them which commit such things. Yeah. You get back what you put out, okay? But what does God, Jesus, judge you as? He judges you as innocent. He washes away the sins of the world. He says you're innocent because he can see clearly, okay? This is your resurrection. This is why Jesus needed to come. To get you out of the principles of this world, to get you out of the principles of your religion. Same thing. And to start believing in him, follow him, okay? And so the Gentiles, guys, which are not, they don't know the law, right? The Gentiles do not know the law. For when the Gentiles don't know this religion, they don't know Jehovah and Yahweh and Moses, which have not the law. They do by nature the things contained in the law. What does that mean? They're behaving. They're sane. They're not committing crimes because they are a law unto themselves because they have truth written in their hearts and their conscience. And so if they, the Gentiles, can behave, it's because they're listening to their heart and conscience fully and completely. They don't care about the rules or standards or conditions of others. They do what makes them happy and at peace. The Gentiles can do it by nature because God, the true God, wrote it with light in your heart. Okay? So this can be your resurrection. The old way, in the next video, we're going to talk about how the old way, this way, the rules, the patriarch, the government of this world and the world of religion and every other group that you want to fit into was too harsh. It was too poisonous. We'll talk about that in the resurrection part 2, okay? I hope this helps you see the light, and I hope it helps you come up out of your grave. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.